This is from test 73, section 2, question 2. Janetta says, increasingly, I've noticed that when a salesperson thanks a customer for making a purchase, the customer also says, thank you, instead of saying, you're welcome. I've even started doing that myself. But when a friend thanks a friend for a favor, the response is always, you're welcome.
Okay, I'm guessing this is going to turn into a paradox question.
Yeah. Janetta didn't actually say, I'm confused. But, if you just think about what Janetta is saying here, like, why is Janetta has to have some sort of a purpose, right? Like, what, Janetta?
She's just talking.
Well, no, it seems apparent that Janetta thinks that this is strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she has noticed this. Increasingly, she has noticed it. And she's even started doing it herself, which does imply that she used to be like going into the Safeway and buying stuff. And then the cashier says, thank you. And she used to be going, you're welcome, which is extremely strange. But Janetta thinks it's strange because when a friend thanks a friend for a favor, the response is always, you're welcome. Okay. And I really like this question, I think, because it seems like we have a natural response, right? If Janetta was your friend, what would you say to Janetta?
I would say when a friend does a favor for you, there's nothing for the friend to say thank you. Like, well, thank you for letting me give you a favor. Whereas at the store, it seems like you're both helping each other out.
Well, yeah. If your buddy picks you up from the airport, they don't get anything out of that. I mean, they the warm fuzzy feeling of
the
doing
joy of
your
helping.
buddy a favor or whatever. But like if your friend picks you up and you're like, thank you, they're not going to say thank you for the privilege of letting me go to LAX in traffic and pick you up.
Thank you.
Yeah, super sarcastically. No, man, thank you a lot for the last 5 hours that I've spent in the car. Yeah, no, they're gonna say, "Nah, you're welcome, man. No problem. Whatever." They're not gonna say. But at the store, so and now we're imagining having a conversation with our friend Janetta, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're explaining it to Janetta, like, well, Janetta, there's a difference. You see, when you buy something at the store, you're giving them money. They're thanking you for your business. They're giving you groceries. You're thanking them for the groceries. You're thanking each other because it's a transaction, and a favor is not a transaction like that.
These are two different things.
And like any normal, rational, just smart, reasonably smart person would have that discussion with Janetta. She's confused, and you're going to just sort of naturally sort her out. Okay. There's no LSAT shit going on here, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Just logic.
It's just common sense. It's just basic common sense. I mean, it's not even, people sometimes get afraid of logic, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, ooh, I don't know. I didn't take that formal logic class in college, so I'm bad at logic. No, you're not. This is common sense. It's just common sense.
Actually, maybe they should be afraid of logic, right? Most people are illogical. But anyways.
Yeah, but and here, I mean, but that's what you're like, that's a big part of the job of a lawyer, is to just sort of make it make sense. Like, you're going to be the one person who's going to actually understand shit. And Janetta, your friend Janetta, she's probably super sweet and funny and charming. she's not that bright, you know, and you're going to just be like, hey, Janetta, well, and you have to explain it to her. But, you know, Janetta, there's a difference between doing a favor and buying something at the store. Anyway, which one of the following, if true, most helps to explain the discrepancy that Janetta observes in people's responses? So it does indeed turn out to be a paradox question. On a paradox question, I think of it in two steps. What's the mystery? Then how do we understand this mystery, or we're looking for an explanation for this mystery.
Yeah, and
But we've
you've
already
already
done it.
answered those. Yeah, you've already answered those two questions.
Which you should, if you're properly tuned into LSAT logical reasoning.
Yeah.
You did it, Ben, automatically, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you looked at Janetta's statement and you were like, oh, Janetta's confused. This is probably a paradox question. One, what's she confused about? Well, she's confused about this difference, apparent discrepancy between how we verbally respond at the Safeway versus how we verbally respond to our friend picking us up at the airport. That's the mystery. Can we explain the mystery? Well, yeah, it's not even a mystery at all because those two things are just inherently different. One is money for goods, the other is just a pure favor for a friend. Those are two different things. So, of course, we respond differently.
Yeah.
All right. Now, one of these five answers is going to describe that, and it should be piece of cake here.
Okay.
I'll read the answer and let you respond to it. A, customers
Sure.
regard themselves as doing salespeople a favor by buying from them as opposed to someone else.
Okay. This would explain why customers say thank you, but it would not explain why the salespeople say thank you.
Try that again. It would explain why customers say thank you.
Yeah.
Customers regard themselves as doing salespeople a favor. Therefore, they say thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Why they say you're welcome. Yeah.
So,
Bottom line is it sorry, it explains a customer behavior, in this case, you're welcome, which is even further off than what I was initially even thinking about
well,
when
start
it comes
over.
to
It doesn't. It customers are saying thank you.
I understand. So customers are saying thank you as opposed to you're welcome. This explains why customers would say you're welcome, which they're not doing.
Right.
So on that sense, it's wrong. I was just focused on the fact that it's explaining the customers and not the salespeople.
But
But
it's not. It's not complaining. It's actually making the paradox harder to understand.
sure,
Right.
sure.
If it's true that customers regard themselves as doing salespeople a favor, then they should be saying you're welcome,
Yeah.
but they're not. They're saying thank you. So A is like outside the paradox, or what? I'm supposed to find an answer that makes it make sense why customers at the Safeway are saying thank you. That's what Janetta was really concerned with. If A is true, then it makes it even harder to understand why customers are saying thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
B, salespeople are often instructed by their employers to thank customers, whereas customers are free to say what they want.
Okay. They could say whatever they want. Why do they say thank you?
Yeah, that's not any kind of an explanation. It's
Nope.
just like, I get it. Sure, they're the Safeway checker is instructed to say thank you, so they, begrudgingly say thank you. But customers can say whatever the hell they want, and Janetta really, that's the thing she's the most concerned with, right? I don't think it doesn't make sense to her why the checker says thank you.
Yeah.
The thing she's really trying to understand, why does the salesperson say why does the customer say thank you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And B doesn't, just saying they're free to say what they want isn't an explanation.
Yeah.
C. Salespeople do not regard customers who buy from them as doing them a favor.
Okay. So if they don't regard customers as doing them a favor, why are they saying thank you? Regardless, it doesn't explain why customers say thank you, which is, as you're saying, her main concern.
Yeah, again, I see C as like only making it hard. Like, well, then if C's true, salespeople
Mhm.
don't regard customers who buy from them as doing them a favor, then maybe they wouldn't say thank you. Not only
Yeah.
that, but why are customers saying thank you? Good. D, the way that people respond to being thanked is generally determined by habit rather than by conscious decision.
Okay. But why do they have this habit? It
Right.
doesn't explain why they're
I
saying thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised to learn that that was the most commonly chosen wrong answer.
Yeah, because it hides the assumption that their habit is to say thank you. And so people make that assumption and then see like, oh, it's explaining
On the
that
new right
behavior.
on the surface, it seems like an explanation. It's like, oh, well, the reason why is because it's out of habit, you see,
Yeah.
rather than a conscious decision. It's just a habitual thing. But when you ask the follow-up question, okay, but how did that become a habit?
Yeah.
Like, why is that the habit rather than you're welcome being the habit? What? So I think we do see students like fall into that trap where it's like a surface level, but there's nothing underneath it. If you ask one more question, there's nothing underneath it. We want an answer that really makes it make sense.
Yeah.
E, in a commercial transaction, as opposed to a favor, the customer feels that the benefits are mutual.
Okay. So if the customer feels like the benefits are mutual, in other words, the customer is benefiting as well, then that would explain why the customer feels compelled to say thank you.
But Ben, the words commercial transaction never appear in Janetta's argument. I didn't pick it because it didn't say commercial transaction.
Oh, that's a good point. Let's go through them again. Um, yeah, I mean, we're talking about a salesperson and a customer. That's a commercial transaction.
Yeah.
I,
Words have meaning beyond the word itself, right? Like,
yeah,
what is a commercial transaction? Or even if the word commercial scares you off,
yeah,
what is a transaction? Well, I think everybody would understand that a transaction is some sort of an exchange, money for
yeah,
goods or one baseball player for another baseball player. It's a trade, right? It's a transaction. And so in a commercial transaction, which a salesperson and a customer at a store, they are making a transaction. It says a purchase. A purchase is a
yeah,
transaction.
yeah,
Okay, so it's on target. Like, we are talking about a commercial transaction. And then it says as opposed to a favor, which is that's the perfect beginning for an answer, right? Because it's like, well, on the one hand in a transaction and on the other hand in a favor. And these are different, you see, because
yeah.
in the commercial transaction, the customer feels that the benefits are mutual as opposed to a favor where they don't. And so
Yep.
E is basically saying it's exactly what we predicted, which was, well, it's a favor. There's a difference. You're not buying goods. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the answer.
Cool.
Anything else to say about this question or paradox questions generally?
No, make sure you know exactly what the problem is. That's how I fucked up answer choice A. I was like had a different question in my head. So
Interesting. Yeah.
I was like trying to explain why both of them did it. So as soon as I saw that A didn't address both of them, I was like, okay, we're done. And
Oh,
then it was like, wait, the question is actually, why does the customer say thank you, not why do they both say thank you?
yeah. Um,
I mean, not that A even explains why the customer says thank you. It explains why the customer would say you're welcome. But
right.
um that like if my initial question had been correct, either one of those things would make an answer bad. And I'm just like moving so fast that it's like, oh, I'm done. But I had the wrong question in my head.
Yeah, we're really not supposed to be explaining the salesperson's behavior. I think Janetta takes that as obvious. Of course, the salesperson is going to say, the salesperson is taking money into their hand.
Yep.
Thank you. that's not that's
Yeah.
not what Janetta's curious about. Janetta's curious about why she's saying thank you when she takes her groceries.
Yep.
But she would say you're welcome if somebody picks her up at the airport. That's the thing that she's really trying to figure out. And yeah, A makes it actually worse in that regard. So the answer
Yeah.
turns out to be E. I like paradox questions. I find paradox questions to be fun
Yep.
and therefore easy, or maybe easy, therefore fun. But you can see them coming a mile away. You have an apparent discrepancy. Sometimes there's a speaker, like here, Janetta was, confused. Sometimes there is no speaker. It could
Yeah.
just, or like no named person. It could just be like, well, on the one hand, this, and on the other hand, that. And they don't really seem to add up.
Yeah.
You should then, if you've been practicing for any length of time, you should already be thinking, oh, this is probably going to just be a paradox question. And then it's pretty simple. What's the mystery? What's the explanation? And lots of times, like here, you could just predict an answer that's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So that's that.